of contextual information that the project of Moksha was able to describe was, how does one achieve moksha? And while this specific aspect was not something we went too deep into, even though, I mean, moksha is the liberation from this, a lot of the, because of the way that a topical remote viewing search is set up is it tries to get as much information or surrounding the idea. And so we could have just completely focused directly on, okay, well, how does one achieve moksha? But we got a lot more information than just that. But the information we did get, it shows a couple different things. First of all, it shows that upon death, that the particles, again, we're using our vocabulary that the viewers have, whether it's actually this, it may be something else. It's the closest in the vocabulary that we can use to describe it, is that particles like cosmic dust or dark matter, something strange, a strange type of particle that we don't have a description for, becomes charged and creates an emission. It's launched out of the individual very, very quickly, like a cannonball out of a cannon, or a bullet out of a gun. And that this occurs from the center of the individual's being, the central nervous. So it comes out of the central nervous system. In other remote viewing data, you actually can see this, is that if you do an event recreation or remote viewing and you do the exact moment of death, and across the board in almost all of those remote viewing sessions, you see a spiral, something is spiraling right out of the top of the head of the individual from their internal system. And when you look at that, a massive amount of energy is being expulsed. And what's being described in this session is that is essentially what the soul is. That is the release of the intelligence of the mind from the body, from the physical. And it's being sent to a place that is described as a tangled mess or a superhighway for the soul. But as the previous contextual information was showing, is that there is a mechanical object around Earth that prevents a soul from reaching this highway. It seems like if you're able to reach the superhighway, you can go pretty much anywhere you want. Achieving moksha gives you access to this superhighway, and where those lead, your guess is as good as anyone else's, I suppose, at this point. But for this to work properly, to actually achieve moksha, is that the position and the angle with which you exit your body is very, very important. And the concept in the work is that it brought up the idea of how the Egyptians used to evoke an out-of-body experience, and how the angle with which the body was actually even laying was considered important to the Egyptians. And the remote viewing work, it described that this 45-degree angle was a key element. And so it's, as the body dies, the soul needs to exit at a correct angle, lest it be trapped within the system again, and then is refracted back and then lensed back again into another body. Second piece of information that was obtained on how one achieves moksha is that it shows it as a blissful moment, but that an unseen actor unfolds something like a safety rope here. And there's a mechanism, or the device that has held this group of people hostage in a cell is, again, it's describing this broken record where they've skipped again and again and again, is that there's something like a safety rope that if you exit at a right angle, is that there's a group waiting for you to help you the rest of the way out. I would assume, at least we would assume, that it's probably the group that used to be in charge of this particular space, or in charge of this environment around Earth as far as death is concerned, but then had to give it up for what they deemed a greater good during the treaty or the armistice. And so, but they're there that if you can meet them at a certain point, they can help you out the rest of the way. The energetics leaving the body, though, is that there's a great deal of fear that's associated with this. Again, because of the reincarnation process, because you don't have any of the memory that's associated with what's going on. It's all seemingly brand new to you. And so the fear of this seems to be something that prevents most people from ever getting that. And instead, they get trapped up into the system or the device that there'll be more work. I'm laterally thinking here, but I don't want to get too off topic. Another YouTube video which I'm going to discuss is the most significant remote viewing target. And it's going to talk a little bit about this, because it's very, very important, and it has to do with not going into the light when you die. But I'm not going to go too far down that road. But it seems that because of the fear from when you die, that and needing to exit at a certain angle to find that kind of safety rope where someone's there waiting for you to help you get the rest of the way out, prevents most people from actually reaching it. The end of this procedure is something, the way we describe it is, it's like you've had a vice on your head for a very, very long period of time. And this vice has gone all the way down into your brain, into your mind. There's cords and cables. You didn't even realize that was occurring. That's created this environment for you to repeat these lives over and over again. And that the freedom from moksha is this device is being ripped off and taken off the top of your head. And so, the closest analogy to something like that is you could look at the movie The Matrix when Neo wakes up and all the cords are pulled out of his back. That's what we describe when you obtain moksha. That's, in this essence, in the human vocabulary, what is occurring. And the drawing is something in your head is being ripped off and is being pulled off violently. That's kept you here in the first place. Ultimately, though, it just seems the key aspects is the angle with which you exit the body is very important. Finding the rope of those who help you out the rest of the way seems to be important. But then also the fear of the entire situation seems to be kind of a condemning factor, that because of that fear, because of that unknown, souls tend to go into a place that leads them back here in another life, which is something I'll talk about in a future video that we kind of got more information on a different remote viewing project.